conservative American message, hosted by the one and only Cam Lau. It is Monday, October 9th, 2023, and you can join me every week on Monday for the greatest political commentary known to man. This is my favorite quote of all time. It comes from President Ronald Reagan. If you can't make them see the light, make them feel the heat. Also, guys, don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Conservative American Message on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X, Truth Social, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, and everywhere else. It also goes a long way when you guys share the show on social media, so please continue to help us grow our audience. The House of Representatives voted this week to fire Kevin McCarthy from the speakership. The effort was led by Republican Matt Gaetz of Florida, who managed to get 8 Republicans along with all of the Democrats to join him in ousting McCarthy. It all kind of sparked from the whole government funding debacle the week before, which left certain Republicans feeling that the GOP had failed. They failed to take a stand and make budget cuts where they managed to keep the government from shutting down for another month, but didn't really make any real change. Now these congressmen have turned up the heat by removing McCarthy, who has been accused of being a rhino, or Republican in name only. You see now, the House is unable to pass any bills or conduct any business whatsoever until the speakership is filled. All the while, the impending government shutdown clock continues to tick. If you remember back when McCarthy originally took the position, it took weeks to finally have the votes to make him the speaker. He certainly wasn't the most popular choice for the job. So it'll certainly be a long time and drug-out process for the GOP to find their replacement. So far, a few House members have come forward announcing their bid for the speakership. Among them are Steve Scalise, who has been involved in the GOP leadership for years and is likely the next best establishment pick after Kevin McCarthy. Also, Jim Jordan, the representative from Ohio, who is being branded as an ally to Trump, which is basically what I believe Gaetz and company are looking for. But it can't be so simple as to have a vote just between the establishment rhinos and Trump conservatives. Some are starting to suggest that rather than Jordan, Donald Trump himself should take the job. The Constitution does not specify that the Speaker of the House must be a member of Congress. Trump has already come out and said that he would consider it as something to do until he wins the presidency, of course. And as much as I'd love to see something as unprecedented as a former president becoming the Speaker of the House, it's extremely improbable. I think that ultimately this whole thing's going to drag on, stagnating any sliver of progress in Washington, leading to a complete government shutdown, and then the establishment will finally have to allow the Trumpers to have their way. If Trump doesn't become the Speaker of the House, don't worry though, because he's still got plenty on his plate. Between courtrooms and campaigning, it'll be hard for him to find any time in his schedule for that kind of stuff at the moment. The absolutely bogus charges in every case have led to some very peculiar sentences being laid out if Trump does lose some of these cases. A judge in New York who told media Trump is guilty before the trial even began is prepared to seize all of the Trump's family's assets in the state of New York and appoint a person to manage them for Trump and his organization, allowing the court to appoint a trustee to make decisions with his money and his businesses without his permissions or desires being taken into account. I always thought that if you committed a crime, you would be fined or sent to jail. This is very strange. Even stranger than all of that, it's that the attorneys who are representing President Trump are actually being sued for representing a criminal like Trump. Now, wait a minute. Isn't that what attorneys do for a living? How can they get in trouble even if Trump did do everything that he's accused of? It's just so messed up. These liberal judges and prosecutors in New York and everywhere else literally campaigned on going after Trump, and now they're starting to rewrite the laws in order to come at him any way that they can. After years of allowing more and more migrants to flood across the Mexico-U.S. border, Joe Biden is finally going to finish the wall. But he claims he doesn't want to and that Congress is forcing his hand.
Well, the border wall, the money was appropriated for the border wall. I tried to get them to reappropriate, to redirect that money. They didn't, they wouldn't. And in the meantime, there's nothing under the law other than they have to use the money for what it was appropriated. I can't stop that.
Do you believe the border wall works?
No.
But to me, I think it's pretty clear that an election is just on the horizon, and he's trying to address the problems that he has caused. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas also boasted a deal that the administration made with the Venezuelan government to deport Venezuelans that are here illegally, except he rebranded deportation and instead he calls it repatriation.
Strict consequences for those who do not use those lawful means to enter our country. Those consequences include swift repatriation, the swift return of migrants, and a ban on their re-entry. Just today, the United States announced its agreement with the country of Venezuela to repatriate Venezuelan nationals who do not take advantage of the lawful pathways and instead arrive irregularly at our southern border and do not qualify for relief.
Regardless of whatever political motivations may or may not be at play here, it is at least a step in the right direction to protect the sovereignty and safety of the United States and its citizens. As for the sovereignty and safety of Israel, thousands of rockets were fired into the small nation on Saturday by Hamas and other Islamic Palestinian terror groups. Over 1,000 people are already confirmed dead and thousands more are injured. The Holy Land has been at war practically since the beginning of time, but this event is one of the worst in history. It's already been called Israel's 9/11. It's been confirmed that the Palestinians were funded, armed, and prompted by Iran to carry out these attacks. And although Israel has been quick to meet the Palestinians with force, Iran has yet to see any consequences from this. Israel is the greatest ally of the United States, and the Israeli-Palestinian conflicts are often seen by many as a proxy war between the U.S. and Iran. It's way too soon now to speculate whether either will get involved directly in what's becoming an all-out war in Israel. What really angers me, though, is the ignorance of liberals in this country who, even after this egregious attack, continue to chant Free Palestine in the streets here in America. It's sad to think how little sympathy they have for the Israeli people who've been through so much generation after generation. In my opinion, those people here are terrorist sympathizers and should quite honestly be arrested by Homeland Security. Well, that's all I have time for. Were you offended by this podcast? Good. Thanks for listening, guys. I really appreciate you all. Have a great week and stay conservative.